What is up, Cowboys Nation? Your boy Mike Tag here. Hope you guys had a good Tuesday. Still recovering from my nice weekend. If you guys heard Monday's show, but before we get rolling, man, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Because I'm terrible about asking about it. You see him sporting my Cuts by Jones piece. He does great work. You see the Mike Tag nameplate in the back. He's also done some cool Cowboys cuts. So if you guys hadn't seen Cuts by Jones, what are you waiting on? He's official sponsor of the show. But hey, let's talk about it. Of course, it made the headlines. It makes the news. Anything Dallas does always will be that way. But Jimmy Johnson, he was on with Joe Rose down in Miami. I grew up down in Miami and familiar with the show. And Jimmy pops on there every now and then, and he popped in, talked a little bit about the Dolphins, kind of South Florida stuff, a little bit of Canes, and kind of said that he's back in the good graces ever since the Ring of Honor, and he's back with the Cowboys, advisory, and Jerry's calling him more than he's called him in years. So, obviously, I think a lot of that was just in jest, a little tongue in cheek, but I think Jerry is reaching out to Jimmy more, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all. I think anyone who saw the halftime of that playoff game saw the passion, the care that he still has for the Cowboys. I mean, that was some genuine, you saw the look in his eyes, just genuine hurt to see the Cowboys play the way they did. And I think he wanted to see that team really progress and move forward. And, I think he can bring kind of an outside perspective, a fresh set of eyes, and maybe a voice that Jerry would actually listen to. Now, I don't know. Ultimately, they have this advisory committee that, Jimmy talked about, but I think it's a committee of one, possibly two. You throw Stephen Jones in the mix, but I think it stops about there. So I don't really think there's a whole lot into it, but I think having Jimmy around and having, Jerry's ear a little bit, or someone that Jerry can talk to, I don't think it's a bad thing at this point. I think Jerry Jones is looking at all options and trying to figure out, what is going on to not get over the hump. And I think we all understand it. We're going to have Coach Campo on the show next Thursday. So make sure you tune into that, because we're going to talk about, Mike Zimmer, the addition of Mike Zimmer. He worked under Coach Campo when he was a defensive coordinator. Zimmer was a secondary coach in that 94-95 Super Bowl season, and then years on, and then eventually was a defensive coordinator, I believe, in 2000. Maybe that's when Coach Campo, took over the deep head coaching job. Sorry, been a long day at work, but so we're going to get into that, but we're going to get into Jimmy. We're going to get into culture, because I think I've tell anyone who listens, I don't think talent's ever the issue with the Cowboys. I think it's all between the ears, and I think they've got to get that confidence. They got to get that swag. The more guys that they can get back, like a Michael Irvin, like an Emmitt Smith, guys who won championships, like an Eric Williams, Kevin Gogan is going to be on the show. It's going to be very interesting to get his take on what he thinks is going on with these Cowboys and how they can create the culture. You've heard Micah Parsons, kind of talking a little bit more in the media, and he, obviously got some headlines with things he said, with Dak Prescott, saying, outside of Mahomes, are you going to take over Dak Prescott? And I get what he's saying, and I think he should defend his quarterback. I think he should show confidence in his quarterback. I think Dak has proven that he has the ability to be a top quarterback. But in order to be an elite quarterback, you have to do it in the money time. You have to do it in the playoffs. You have to get your team to a Super Bowl, and then, with the opportunity to win a championship. And until that happens, that's always going to be something that's going to hang over Dak Prescott's head. And I think going into next season, as fans, we're all going to be, your boy's going to be bringing the hype, but in the back of everyone's mind, it's like, all right, we took care of this team. I need to see it in the playoffs. We beat the Lions. I want to see it in the playoffs. We beat the Ravens. I want to see it in the playoffs. We beat the Eagles. I want to see it in the playoffs, and so on and so forth. They can go 17-0, and I think every Cowboy fan to a man is going to be a little bit uneasy until they see that success translate in the playoffs. And that's going to take a culture change. We've all talked about it. And I think that Jerry has to be the start of that. It starts at the top. Jerry has to allow his coaches to have the authority. They have to send some messages to maybe some players that kind of weren't walking that line, maybe weren't focused, maybe weren't prepared, maybe weren't ready. And when I mean prepared, preparing yourself. These guys are professionals. They should be preparing themselves for these big games. I don't want to hear I'm tired. I don't want to hear we're fatigued. I don't want to hear the pressures, the mental, all that kind of stuff, because none of that means anything. Every other team has to deal with it. So getting Jimmy in, I think, I don't think he's back in the fold. I don't think you're going to see him on the sideline. What I do think you're going to see, I think at training camp, I think you're going to see Jimmy there for a couple of days. I think you're going to see him walking around with Jerry and just kind of observing stuff, and you're going to see him kind of maybe mixing it up with some of the players. And I think that's a great thing if he does. I think maybe at a Cowboy game, maybe a Cowboy one a year. When he gets away from Fox, maybe he makes a little appearance as the legend of the game or something like that. And I think that's a great thing. I think getting Jimmy Johnson back, it gives people the look back, especially my age group of just great memories with the Cowboys, and knowing what they have the potential to be, and knowing how great it is when you reach that mountaintop. And it's hard. There's not a lot of teams to win the Super Bowl. I mean, Cowboys obviously have their drought, but I could show you a drought much longer of teams that haven't even been to the Super Bowl, won a championship in a long, long time. So, but for Cowboys, our standards are, we always have a higher standard. That's why we're America's team. We don't sit here and we're not satisfied with participation ribbons. We're not hanging up division championship banners in the stadium. It's all about Super Bowls. And until they get that sixth Super Bowl trophy, that elusive sixth Super Bowl trophy, it's always going to be that way. So I think it's a great thing. Love to get your guys' comments. I mean, obviously it would be awesome, but I don't know how much reality it is. But really with Parsons, I understand, and I think he should be defending his quarterback. And I hope that Parsons is starting to take that vocal leader role, the vocal leader of accountability, the accountability to every player and every teammate to do your job. It's like James Washington said, know your role. And I think everyone needs to know their role on the team and execute to that. And it's going to be interesting. You got free agency coming up. It's going to be, interesting to see how the Cowboys align themselves with that all in. Are they going to be very, very aggressive early in free agency? They've always been one to kind of sit back and wait for kind of some bargains, some Dollar Trees, some bargains to fall and strategically pick those up. And they've done a decent job, in the past doing it. I mean, you get Gilmore, you get, Cooks, do you bring back Gilmore? You had him on a good deal. Is he going to want a little bit more money, or what can you do with that? So they've made some nice signings, but what I need to see them do is make some impact signings that is going to affect the culture of the team. And that's defense. Defense drives these teams. If you look at the Chiefs, as great as Mahomes was, that defense kept him in the game until he got going. And they played physical, and the defense drives that's the engine of the machine. And I think the Cowboys need that physical play. They need to bring some guys in, championship mentality, championship pedigree, that's all they care about is winning. They're not worried about the glam. They're not worried about all the other stuff, because that's a hard thing. And that's a battle that you got to fight in Dallas. And that's where I say it starts with Jerry. Jerry's got to set the tone. Country club mentality has got to stop. It's got to be old school Rocky IV, head up to the mountains and do some training. You know what I'm talking about? And that's what they got to get. And hopefully this will be finally the year to get it done. They've got the talent. Like, we talked about on Monday's show, they put out, off season, it's slow. They're going to put some stuff out there. They put the top 8 teams with the biggest window. And Dallas, they had it 4 as window of opportunity to win a championship. They've got the talent. You can't tell me they don't. Do some signings. They're probably obviously going to be extending Dak to get CD in there. They're going to be able to free up some money. I would bring Tyron back. If the deal made sense, I would bring Tyron back. You go in knowing you're probably going to miss him for 3 or 4 games. But if you can manage him right and get him healthy and make sure he's good going in the playoffs, I mean, he's still a dominant left tackle, no doubt about it. So I think they can work some stuff. Zach Martin deal. I mean, there's certain things that they can do. The salary cap looks like it's elevating up pretty high, so that's even going to jump up even more to help them. So I think everything is set for the Cowboys if they're really serious about going all in. The free agents that are coming available in the areas of need, linebacker being the primary one, obviously running back being the other primary one. You've got some players in both of those positions that you can get that can impact the team today. And then, of course, the draft. Got to do better than they did last year. But again, I'm going to wait a few years. I'll always give them a little grace because they've been very consistent with the draft over the last, decade plus. I mean, they usually do pretty solid in the draft. Last year, obviously, Mozzie, that was kind of a weird thing because they draft him, then they, trying to get him to lose a bunch of weight. Did that affect him? Get him back up to his playing weight that he was in college? Maybe he's going to be the Mozzie that they drafted. So different philosophy, getting Mike Zimmer in, different thought, different approach. So maybe he can get the most out of him. And then you obviously got Schoonmaker, who played a little bit. Ferguson was the guy. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out, to see if that's a bust. And then obviously Deuce Vaughn didn't really do a whole lot, didn't do really anything in last season, but maybe that was kind of a red shirt year and kind of get him going, and maybe they can get more out of him. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun, but like I always say with the Cowboys, it's as the world turns with America's team, there's always going to be news. Here's where you want to go, man. There's so many great content creators out there. I've been on a lot of the shows. I love them all, and it's really a close-knit family. And a lot of them I've called friends. So definitely continue to support all the Cowboys content creators. It's much better than NFL Network, much better than ESPN. And more importantly, show a little love to your boy Mike Tag, Kelly K9, Jimmy Dee, the rest of the crew, Uncle Cheech. We got some stuff going on in the cave. Have time. We specialize in some fan stuff. We're fans. We're fans first. And what we do is we bring in some of the former Cowboys, some of the guys that won Super Bowl championships, bring them in and get the fans the opportunity to interact, get the fans the opportunity to hear those stories. The thing I love about retired guys is they got no filter. They're going to tell you the way it is. And it's such a pleasure. And it's an honor for me to get that opportunity to get these guys to want to come out in the show. I mentioned a name and they want to come out and be part of the cave and share their stories. And so we've got, like I said, we got Kevin Gogan going to be coming up soon. I was trying to hopefully get him in for Thursday. He was on vacation, but I hit him up just recently. So hopefully we'll work that out. If not, I've got Coach Campo in next Thursday, and maybe we'll get Kevin Gogan after that. Then I've got some other guys that we're lining up. So we bring Super Bowl champions. We're going to get that mentality right. To be a champion, you got to be around champions. And that's what we're going to do in the cave, is we're going to surround you with champions. And hopefully this will rub off to get this Cowboys team the championship that they need. So again, I appreciate all the support. Wouldn't be doing this without you. You guys, I owe you a lot because you guys give me a platform to talk Cowboys and interact with so many friends and all the friends I've made in Cowboys Nation, and more to come because we'll be bringing it up. We'll be tailgating it up next year, and we'll be looking forward to it. So I do appreciate it. I will see you guys live Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Kelly K9 and I will be in the house. Maybe we'll have a guest. Maybe we won't, but either way, we're going to bring it. So you guys have a good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whenever you guys check this out. Take care.
Give me somebody that's hungry. Give me somebody that's hungry. I need somebody.